Play to win your share of $1 million every week this football season at DraftKings.com. With 1 Week Fantasy at DraftKings, you can play when you want with a team you want. Just pick your contest, pick your team, and pick up your winnings. Hurry to DraftKings.com now. Use code TAKE and play for free with your first deposit in Sunday's $1 million fantasy contest. This isn't fantasy as usual. This is DraftKings. Welcome to the big time. Enter TAKE for free entry now only at DraftKings.com. That's DraftKings.com.
The Pirates and Cardinals have the best 2 records in baseball, and they go head-to-head one final time this regular season. Could this be a preview of next week's division series? Coverage begins Wednesday at 6:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio.
The topics are hot. The discussion is heated. And we're on fire. The First Take Podcast starts now.
Here's what's coming up on the First Take Podcast. Is Andrew Luck to blame for the Colts' slow start? Plus, how far can the Jets go this season? And can Chip Kelly fix the struggling Eagles? These topics and more coming at you right now. What's up, everybody? Good day. Welcome into First Take. To my left, Skip Bayless, and to my right, Stephen A. Smith. I'm Molly Karam. And let me say, gentlemen, you're looking extra handsome today. I'm liking the black suits.
Trying to butter us.
No, I have no reason.
I must admit.
What is my reason?
I must admit, I am told that I look extra special in black all the time. I just want you to know that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I am told
Not
that.
the first time you heard this.
We all know neither one of us look anywhere close to how good you look. So
That's
let's just
true.
move on to this. Do what we
I
do.
do have to ask you, did you have somebody sabotage my chair? Because I feel
will,
like it's
too.
starting to fall over
You're
over
a
here.
high
So
rider
you
over
did
here.
it to both chairs today?
Me?
Yeah,
Nah, man.
you.
Nah, man.
It's the only shot you got today.
Listen, I'm in the studio. Be happy. Be nice.
I'll shake your hand
Be nice.
for that.
There we go.
Yeah.
Don't make me go to New York now.
Stay. Please stay.
Are you guys ready to work?
I'm
Yeah.
ready. We
All
always
right,
ready
let's
to
go.
work. We always
Coming
ready to
up,
work.
is there beef with RG3 and Kirk Cousins, or is this much ado about nothing? We will fill you in on that. Plus, Ole Miss knocks off Alabama. What does this mean for Nick Saban, and will the Tide still roll? But we kick things off in Indy, where the Jets beat the Colts 20-7. The Colts, meanwhile, were shut out in the first half in consecutive weeks. For the first time in over 20 years, Luck was 21 of 37 for 250 yards and 1 touchdown and 3 picks, 4 turnovers total. Here's Luck.
We don't want to take anything away from what the Jets did on defense, but we continue to shoot ourselves in the foot with penalties and turnovers. And if we don't clean those up, it's hard to win. I don't think we're necessarily a perfect, well-oiled machine right now. I don't think you ever are in week 2 necessarily. But I'd like to think we have a fair bit of improvement, to make.
Skip, your boy, Luck. How much blame?
I think he's your boy, Luck.
Your boy.
Yeah.
How much blame does he deserve in this one?
Stephen A. Smith, here we go again. Now, I realize I'm going to get this all out of the way up front. Vinatieri, the great Adam Vinatieri, missed a chip shot field goal. And I realize the formerly great Frank Gore fumbled at the goal line. I realize the Colts are decimated at cornerback and that the offensive line is, I'll give it average. I don't think it's worse than average. It's about average. And I realize that Andrew Luck has faced 2 top 5 defenses right out of the box this football season.
Right.
But if Andrew Luck is as great as everyone tells me he is, including you and you, especially you,
Especially me.
then he deserves at least 60% of the blame for what's happened in Week 1 and Week 2 to his Indianapolis Colts that you picked to be in the Super Bowl, correct?
We started with that. I'm shaking on that one, too.
Oh, maybe you're going to back off that one?
It's been a bad week. First I got to back off on the Eagles. Now I'm going to have to back off on the Colts.
He has the right to change, right?
Wait, and there's
I'm not going to do it yet.
that Seattle team? You had Seattle in?
No, I'm not. I haven't budged from Seattle.
Okay.
They just have to get Cam Chancellor back.
Okay, all right, I got you. You know what my pet peeve is. It's the premature coronation of one Andrew Luck, or as I call him, Andrew Locke, as in Locke, first ballot Hall of Famer, according to everyone. And you know what? Got nothing personal against the kid.
I know.
Like him, like what he stands for. I just keep saying, show me, Andrew, and I will believe. Mm-hmm. And all he keeps doing, to my eye, is turning the ball over and over and over again. He was a turnover machine as a rookie when he had the second most combined fumble interception turnovers in the National Football League to one butt fumble Mark Sanchez. And then even last year, his 3rd year in the NFL, He had the second most combined turnovers in the National Football League to one of your favorite quarterbacks, Jay Cutler. And now, after 4 more last night, Andrew Luck, of all people, leads the National Football League in combined turnovers with 6 total, one ahead of Sam Bradford, another of your favorite quarterbacks, 5. Sam Bradford has 5. Need I point out that his QBR, obviously in those first 2 games, has fallen all the way combined to 30th in the NFL out of 32 quarterbacks listed. And I need to keep this in some perspective because in the money games, the postseason games, he has 9 touchdown passes to 12 interceptions. Not a pretty sight either. I will remind you also that Andrew Luck got destroyed in Buffalo by a Buffalo defense that Tom Brady just destroyed at Buffalo with 466 yards passing and 40 points. So all that said, big picture, I'm sorry. I got to give him at least half the blame. I'm going to dare to go all the way to 60%, and you're probably going to tell me that's completely unfair, but I'm just going by the bar set as high as you have helped set it.
Okay. Are you finished?
Yeah.
Couple of things. Number one, this is not a day that I'm in any position to disagree with your assertions about Andrew Luck. Let me be very, very clear. He deserves at least 50% of the blame. Since the start of last season, he's got more turnovers than any quarterback in the league. 21 interceptions, 7 fumbles. It's inexcusable. It's sloppy. He knows it. Everybody and their grandma knows it. The bottom line is Andrew Luck has to play better. He doesn't look nor resemble anything like the quarterback that I've been bragging about he is. That I will openly confess to you. But don't you dare sit here with that face of yours and act like,
I like my face.
Allow me to finish. Allow me to finish. And Ernestine likes it, which is all that matters. So let me be very, very clear. Don't you dare sit there with that face of yours and act like your love for RG3 has nothing to do with your feelings about Andrew Luck, because I know you better than that.
Wait,
I'm just saying, I'm not
wait,
going
we're talking about the same RG3 who outplayed Andrew Luck during the rookie years?
I'm not getting into the whole thing because I'm not questioning your credibility on the argument because you watched RG3 throughout his college career, which is why I think your gospel, well, not as much as RG3.
I did. I watched him a lot.
Okay, well, that's not what you told me.
I saw Brandon Whedon outplay him in a bowl game.
I was getting ready. Exactly, and I watched him, and I was there. I went all the way out to L.A. to watch him.
That was your one game.
And I was there for that one. I watched the games, but that's okay. I watched the games on TV like you.
And you know what? He threw a late pick 6 in that game. Remember that?
He dropped 56 points that game, so be mindful of that. And even though that's the one game I went to for Andrew Luck, I watched him play. I didn't love RG3 the way you loved RG3, which is why you said you would pick RG3 number 1 and that you didn't sit up there and you would have passed on Andrew Luck. See how where that got you. Here's the reality.
He got hurt. That's where it got me.
Doesn't matter.
He got hurt.
He can't play the way he was playing. He didn't want to play that way anyway. I look at Andrew Luck right now, and I will concede that I give him 50% of the blame. What I would say to you is let's pay attention to Coach Chuck Pagano as well. Because one of the things in the great Bob Kravitz, his column in the Indianapolis Star, I think he wrote something and he's talking about how Chuck Pagano was reminded of the woes on the offensive line. Andrew Luck being sacked 100 times over the last 3 seasons, constantly being pressured all night by that Jets defense, which seemed every bit as elite, as marketed, as hyped and advertised, which I'll get into in a second. When Chuck Pagano was confronted with that question, I was very uncomfortable with his response, Skip. He said, well, it's been the same scenario for Andrew Luck for the past 3 years now. He should be used to it. Wait a minute. Why is it the same situation over the last 3 years if you're the head coach? Should that not have been resolved by now? You've got to get this boy some protection. You don't get it.
Was that a shot at the GM?
Well, the GM Grigson, whether it's Pagano, Grigson, I don't know.
But if he says the same situation, you're saying he doesn't have enough help?
Well, then you know what? My attitude is they're just as culpable as Andrew Luck, because Andrew Luck was pressured last night. Again, Skip, nobody's absolving him. He played bad. and you have to play better. You can't turn off the ball while you're scrambling for a first down. But that interception by Revis, he was pressured by Muhammad Wilkerson. It was all over him, hit him, nipped him on his right arm.
So why try that throw? Why even try it?
Well, again,
it's a bad idea.
No, it happens all the time in the NFL. You're trying to unleash a throw, and somebody hits you on your arm. It happens. Drew Brees is hurt today because of that very situation that happened with him last weekend as well. All I'm trying to say to you is this. Yes, there was a fumble by Frank Gore, very uncharacteristic. Yes, there was a chip shot field goal that was missed by Adam Vinatieri, very uncharacteristic. Andrew Luck, unfortunately, his turnovers don't appear to be uncharacteristic. It seems to be the norm for him,
it does.
and he has to fix that because no matter how good he is, no matter how great his upside is, no matter how great I believe he will be, and I still believe that with all my heart, the fact is he's turning the ball over too much, and it has to be addressed. With that being said, there are a couple of things that contribute to this. Indy didn't have 4 of their top corners, okay? That's a big deal. They had some dude from the practice squad that they signed on Friday in the lineup last night. That's number one.
And Vontae Davis got
dinged.
Yeah.
He got hurt.
Yeah.
Number 3, that offensive line is not protecting Andrew Luck. The Jets were in his face all night long. And number 4, can we take a moment to give the Jets some love? I was shocked at how well Ryan Fitzpatrick was running. Forget the throwing. I couldn't believe how he was running with the football.
Okay, save that for just a second.
That's
okay,
right.
I'm with
in the
you.
end, we're going to get into the Jets in a second. So I'll hold off on that. In the end, what this comes down to is that the offensive line is not protecting Andrew Luck, and Andrew Luck, once again, is trying to do too much. He's acting like a novice instead of an experienced quarterback who is supposed to know better. So you are right. I will concede that Andrew Luck simply has to play better, and he just has to protect the football. But that offensive line does not do a good job of protecting him, even with Harriman's added, leaving the Eagles, joining the Indianapolis Colts, even with him being added, even with you having some semblance of a running game, because even though Frank Gore didn't rush for over 100 yards or whatever, he averaged about 4 yards a carry. He was running the football relatively effectively. He just bobbled the fumble, and that's how it happened. But I was pleased with Frank Gore for the most part. I think this is about that offensive line and Andrew Luck and the lack of protection. Chuck Pagano and Grigson have not gotten him. Even though the sacks have dissipated over the last few years, he's still getting hit quite too much. And boy, did the Jets hit him last night.
I got to stop you on one quick point.
Sure.
You cannot use Harriman's as a double negative because you criticize Chip for getting rid of him, but you then turn around and criticize him for not protecting Andrew Luck. Which way is it?
I didn't say him. I'm saying that he's added. I mean, his status, this is 11th.
That should be an upgrade,
Let me
right?
say this to you. This is his status. He's been in the league. This is his 11th year. He's only missed 3 games. He's only missed starting 3 games in his career. All I'm saying to you is this. He is considered a talent. He is added to that offensive line. I'm not blaming him. I'm simply saying he's arguably the face of that offensive line at this particular juncture. I'm saying as a unit, they have to do better. And Chuck Pagano and Grigson have to insist on upgrading that to protect their franchise caliber investment. They should have done a better job of making sure that Andrew Luck is protected. Look at the Dallas Cowboys and what they did. Remember, Jerry Jones wanted to go out and draft other people. Tony Romo said, no, I need you to get me an offensive line. Let's focus.
I think Stephen Jones said no, but
all right,
go ahead.
that's fine. That's
I
fine.
do.
Stephen and Jerry Jones locked in on Tony Romo's request, and now the Dallas Cowboys have the best offensive line in the league.
They
and look
do.
at the success they're enjoying because of it. Indy should see that formula.
Okay, am I piling on? Am I being unfair by statistically breaking down when a turnover machine Andrew Luck has been?
Not at all.
Because I don't think I am. I don't want to look like I am. I'm just spouting
let's give some
facts.
credit to the defenses as well that he's faced.
I'll give some, but look, if he's Andrew Luck, is in first ballot Hall of Fame Luck, he should be a little better even against these defenses because I just told you Tom Brady's starting 3 offensive linemen in front of him. 3. The whole interior is rookie.
But in fairness, and
466 at Buffalo.
We'll get into it when we talk about the Jets. But the reality, Skip, is this. You're not giving enough credit to the superiority of the coaching and the system employed in New England compared to Indianapolis. The fact is, Chuck Pagano was a feel-good story for obvious reasons. God bless him. He seems to be healthy, and definitely we wish him nothing, him and his family, nothing but the best. And I think that he's a really good guy and a really good person. And 3 consecutive 11-5 seasons are nothing to sneeze at. I'm not sitting here and saying that the man can't coach. I am saying that the one ailment that they have that has served to be their biggest impediment is that offensive line. And the reality is that they seem to have done little about it. They have to prioritize this. They went out and got Andre Johnson. You go out and you get Frank Gore. But your offensive line continues to be a problem because when people want to apply pressure, they seem to have a relatively easy time of doing it, albeit it is Buffalo and New York, two elite defenses.
Last quick point before we go to the Jets. You talked about my RG3 obvious bias, but there's another little bias operating here. That's Deflategate, which is why I tweeted at the end of the game, wonder if the Colts are going to ask the refs to check the inflation levels of Ryan Fitzpatrick's footballs tonight, because he went Tom Brady on them. Well, so I'm taking some pleasure in what's happening to your Indianapolis Colts.
It was 10-7 until the fourth quarter. That is not the same as the New England
Ryan
Patriots.
Fitzpatrick
Hold on.
lit
That's not
you
the
up?
same. That's not the same. No, he didn't lit. He didn't
I
light
thought by
them
his
up.
standards that was a light up.
By his standards.
Yeah.
But that is completely
Well, I'm just saying, I'm taking a measure of satisfaction in what's happening.
That disclaimer, your
Thank
honesty
you.
for
I
the
am.
viewers out
I'm just
there.
telling you, I'm taking a measure of
Evidently,
satisfaction.
y'all don't want me to finish my thought.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No,
I'm
we
saying
do.
45-7 is 45-7. Outscored 28-0 in the second half is entirely
With legally
different.
inflated balls.
It's entirely different than being down 10-7. Let's pump the brakes on the Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I was kidding. I mean, it was just obviously just a shot at the
you're
Colts,
taking a shot
the
at
whistleblowers that they were.
And I'm saying to you, don't engage in preemptive behavior. The Colts are going to go up against New England in about 3 to 4 weeks, and Lord help them. The way they're looking right now, I am scared of what New England is going to do to them when they face them. That's going to be a very scary night for the Indiana. It's not a matter of whether they're going to lose or not, because we know they're losing. It's a matter about how much. So they would need to fix it just to avoid getting completely embarrassed.
But the point is, they have the ultimate safety net. Do the Colts? They play in the AFC South.
Yeah, first they have the Titans, Jags, and Houston before that. All right, ready to focus on the Jets side of things, gentlemen?
I'm ready.
They are now 2-0 for the first time since 2011. They already have a league-best 10 takeaways through 2 games after totaling an NFL 13 takeaways all of last season. Those 10 takeaways have led directly to 31 points on the board, which is 2 TDs more than they've allowed through 2 weeks. Defense is legit. Brandon Marshall, Eric Decker putting in work. Stephen A., how far does Gangrene go?
I got to tell you something. I have them as my wild card going to the playoffs, and I'll stick to that. I'm still not overly impressed with the Jets' offense. I need to see more. Whether it's Chris Ivory or somebody else running with the football, they just need to do a better job. As I'm looking at this right now, I'm seeing a running game that's essentially, I mean, what did they do here? You've got a running game where their leading rusher was 57 yards. That was more than 4 yards a carry in Chris Ivory, but nevertheless, I need to see more from their running game. I hope Eric Decker is healthy because he was playing well before he got hurt, but it doesn't look good, doesn't sound good. Brandon Marshall's the #1 receiver in this league. He's a stud. And what I love about him most is that he's best when the bright lights are on. He's one of those guys that the more the lights shine, the bigger the moment, the more he shows up. And so I just think that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. I will openly confess to you, I was very impressed with Ryan Fitzpatrick from the perspective. I didn't realize he had legs like that. You know how you watch somebody, but you're not really watching them. You're not paying attention to them. They're a journeyman. He's been on 4 different teams in the last 4 years. You're not really expecting much from him. So throughout the years when he was someplace else, whether it would be Houston, Buffalo, or what have you, you didn't really pay much attention to him. And then all of a sudden you sit back on Monday Night Football and watch this dude, and you're like, wait a minute, I didn't know he could do that. And that's how I looked at Ryan Fitzpatrick. I didn't know that he could run the football the way that he was running the football. So I give him a lot of credit for that. He still needs some work on the deep throws. It wasn't accurate. He was just throwing it up there, hoping that Brandon Marshall would go get it. That was a bit problematic. So on the offensive side of the ball, I still think they got a ways to go when you consider the way that the Colts were decimated in their secondary, in terms of their four corners being out, in terms of having somebody from the practice squad in your lineup, not really having a lethal pass rush. I just felt like the Jets left some points off the board. They should have scored. They should have scored. Much more than they ended up scoring. So I'm not overly impressed with that, but I am very impressed with Brandon Marshall. And I think, this kid, Numa, I like him. I liked him. I think I saw some moves. I saw some athleticism. Obviously, he only had one catch for 27 yards. He was targeted about 3 times.
It was a big one.
But it was a big one.
Because he's got tight end size with wide receivers.
He's got tight end size with wide receivers. Yep. Absolutely right. So I like what I'm seeing from receivers. I'm not sure about Fitzpatrick, but he can move with the ball, which I think is a big plus. And I think he'll keep the turnovers as a minimum, which is what I'm not sure about with Geno. This defense is big time. First of all, you got Revis. You got Cromartie out there, who I spoke to yesterday. And I was like, what the hell are you playing for? Why are you even playing? Sit down. He's like, man, I'm ready to go. My teammates need me. I need them. I'm going. I'm ready to go. I said, all right. But I looked at him, and I said, this guy is out there with Revis, and this dude screamed. Oh, I like him a lot. And Pryor was up in there, Gilchrist at your free safety, and then Muhammad Wilkinson was all over the place. Keep in mind that you've got pressure on Andrew Luck all night long, and you didn't even have Sheldon Richardson.
No.
Who, by the way, the league has not reacted on the whole speeding issue where he was going 143 miles an hour in his Bentley with a 12-year-old in the backseat. They haven't even addressed that yet. The Jets, all they know is that he's out for 4 games. He could very well, who knows what could happen. So if the league doesn't address it, or they say, all right, make sure, you don't let it happen again, and they move on because you're already going for 4 games. If this dude comes back after 4 games with the defense we're already seeing, I'm asking this question. How are you scoring on the Jets? I'd really, really like to know that, because they can get pressure on you and the secondary can lock you down. How are you scoring on these New York Jets? I don't know the answer to that question. So for me, when I look at the Jets, I'm very their defense is elite. Their offense is suspect. It's a question mark, but I still think they're a team to watch to make the playoffs. I'm going to stick with them as my wild card.
Are they a threat to win the conference?
I think anytime you have an elite defense, you're a threat. And I'll tell you why. Much respect to Trent Dilfer for bringing up this point. That's how he won a Super Bowl. He sat up there, didn't make mistakes, wasn't spectacular, but did his job, didn't make mistakes, and left it to his defense. Can Ryan Fitzpatrick do that with a Brandon Marshall? Hopefully Eric Decker will come back with the Numa and what have you. Can he do that? If they can do that, anything's possible. Anything's possible. I think the bottom line is you can't look at the Jets and say they have no chance. With a defense like that, you always have a chance.
Better than the Bills? Jets better than the Bills, Skip?
The New York Jets will go as far as Ryan Fitzpatrick takes them, and it won't be far enough. I picked the Bills to be the wild card, obviously coming out of the same division, because I think the defenses are about a dead heat between Bills and Jets, and I agree with everything you just said. But the Bills are no joke either, though Tom Brady made them look laughable. But they're no joke, and they will continue to show you that.
Okay.
But I like the Bills' weapons on offense more than I even like the Jets, and I love Brandon Marshall. But I think Ryan Fitzpatrick has maxed out so far. I think you've gotten the best of him. He will occasionally throw it to the wrong team, and I think you'll see more. What is he now? He's 4 touchdowns to 2 interceptions.
Yep.
Pretty good. He's been very good. Better than I thought he would be. He's capable of doing that because he started so many. What's he up to? I've lost track now. It's like 75 starts in the NFL.
Okay.
That's a lot of game experience. So I think they went with the right guy. I would take him over Geno just to at some point become that game manager that you need, as you talked about. But in the end, Tyrod Taylor, with Sammy Watkins, and LaShawn, and all the rest of them, they put up 32 on Belichick's defense. That was impressive to me. They almost got back in that game. They are explosive on offense, and the Jets will never be accused of being explosive on offense.
Just to get to your point to help you out here, Ryan Fitzpatrick has 91 starts.
91 starts.
Career. He's 35, 55, and 1.
Okay. He's been with a lot of bad teams. He had a couple of nice little runs. He had a good run in Buffalo under Chan Gailey for a while. Then he got his big contract, and he didn't have such a good run.
Yep.
Okay. He's capable, but is he capable of doing it when it really matters? I'm going to give a slight edge to the Bills, and I'm going to say that the Jets just missed the playoffs. More like 9-7 to 10-6.
Okay.
All right. Well, I guess for me, I just look at the New York Jets from the perspective of what is their schedule going to be, who they're playing up against. We know they've got Miami. We know they've got Buffalo. We know they have New England.
Twice.
So it's going to be twice.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be pretty tough for them to compete against.
They've got a late at Dallas on a Saturday night.
I will tell you this. They got a game coming up this weekend against the Philadelphia Eagles, which we will talk about later.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like the Jets. I reserve the right to change my mind, but I kind of like that. I kind of like the thought of those dudes going after Sam Bradford.
Yeah.
What you going to do
I
about
do, too.
Mm-hmm. Hold on for a second, Molly.
Yes.
Skip Bayless, could y'all hold on for a second, please?
Okay.
Skip Bayless, did you see us? Did you see the commercial during the break? First take. There's a Burger King commercial. And the Burger King commercial has got something about the chicken on there, and they're coming up with the new chicken fries combination. That's my voice. You see somebody in there saying, calm down. That's me talking to you.
It is?
It's me talking to you. I'm trying to tell you. I'm telling you the truth. I'm telling you the truth.
You sure?
It needs to be said. Y'all listen to the commercial. There's a voice in there. The chicken fries one, and you hear the voice saying, calm down. That's me telling you to calm down during the first take. I remember it as clear as yesterday.
Is it taken right off our audio off the show?
I think so.
You didn't record
I don't know.
it.
I did not record it.
You did
I just
not.
wanted to point that out.
You need to cash in on that.
I just wanted to point that. You think?
That's real money.
It's got that. That's me right here saying, calm down. Listen to it. One of these days. Just
okay.
That's all I wanted to say.
And you're playing college football now.
Continue.
There's a lot going on.
I mean, Burger King need to tell me about that stuff. I like Burger King. Need to tell me about these things.
Enjoy a good Whopper.
How about that?
All right. The word on the street is that there is a lot of tension that exists between Kirk Cousins and RG3, and that the two don't talk to each other. According to Bleacher Report, quote, they don't speak, they don't communicate, they can't be in the same room together. Griffin apparently took issue with the Bleacher Report story, tweeting this Monday morning. When the hate don't work, they start telling lies. I guess celebrating that your team won with your teammates is isolating yourself. Hashtag hater. Stephen A., what's the deal?
Well, the deal is that I hate subjects like this from the perspective of, unlike most folks in today's world in our industry, I don't like making a habit of talking about other people's report. I respect my colleagues in this profession, etc. But I must admit, when I saw it, I didn't think much of it because I saw RG3 go up to Kirk Cousins on the field and wish him luck prior to the game against St. Louis on Sunday. Then in the aftermath of it, and in the aftermath of this report, I had people close to RG3 telling me that's nonsense. There's no truth to that whatsoever. Of course, RG3 is a competitor. Of course, he wishes he was starting. Of course, he wishes he were playing, and that's a natural emotion to have. But it's not like he's sitting out there wishing Kirk Cousins bad luck, hoping that the team loses, etc., etc. And they believe this to be just another shot at the personal integrity and character of RG3. I'm not about to go that far with the report. I don't know the reporter, and even if I did, I'm certainly not going to call him out like that. He's got a job to do, and if that's what he's hearing, that's what he's hearing, and we have to respect that. I would tell you that people in RG3's camp are categorically denying it, and there's nothing that I've seen, albeit I'm not at the game, it's the cameras, and I'm not in the locker room like this reporter is and all of that stuff. I would tell you it doesn't seem to be that way. At the end of the day, here is what I think is undeniable. And I always lean towards this reality, Skip, because what Joe Public needs to understand is that it is very, very rare in the history of our industry that somebody is just going to make something up and say it. They're usually being told that by somebody.
Sure.
Now, whether it's true or not is another matter. But actually being told it, I definitely think that's highly likely, which would lend itself towards the thought that there are still dudes in that locker room who do not like RG3. There are still guys in that locker room who wish he'd go away. There are still guys in that locker room who are ecstatic that Kirk Cousins, or anybody for that matter, is the starting quarterback for the Washington Redskins other than RG3, which to me lends itself towards the argument that the Redskins should have just let him go and RG3 should move on, because it's clear that he does not appear to have much of a future in the nation's capital.
Okay. I believe this report. I'm not surprised by this report, and it doesn't bother me one bit, because it's predictable that Robert would not exactly warm up to Kirk Cousins. Isn't that just par for that course?
Yeah, but I'm not refuting that, because that's the competitor in you.
Yeah.
But to say they're not talking, they've got it out for one another, they're not even speaking, they can't be in the same room together, I think that's the extra stuff that is being categorically denied. I don't think anybody would deny your point that you've got any kind of pride or dignity about you, any competitive fervor in you. You're not going to be happy about the fact that you're being benched in favor of your backup.
Just remember, 3 years ago, back to his rookie year, Robert Griffin III became as big a football star in D.C. as maybe they've ever had for a short span. I mean, was he not it in as football crazy an area as you'll find in this country, right? So he experienced the idolatry of that. And maybe it got to him a little bit. Maybe he didn't react that well to it as he began to brand himself that offseason through the rehab. We've talked about it. But given all that, it's pretty difficult then to buddy up to the guy who's going to usurp you, who has taken your job. That's hard. That's a tough one. I don't remember if you did it, but a lot of people criticized Brett Favre for cold shouldering Aaron Rodgers in his first 3 years as he tried to figure out how to be a pro football player, as they rebuilt his whole delivery and style, right? Well, I didn't. It's just Favre. He's a competitor. He doesn't want anybody to come in and snatch his job out from under him.
Yeah, you have a good point there, but I think that you have to remember a couple of things. I think that your focus on what RG3 is experiencing emanates from the RG3 brand, how he was conducting himself once stardom hit him as a member of the Washington Redskins, etc. You know what I remember most? I remember his performance in his last year at Baylor. I remember after he played that terrific game when he said, I think I won the Heisman.
Against Texas.
And then I remember him coming on this show, being on that big screen, talking to you.
That is correct.
And validating the fact that that's how he felt. So long
and I asked him, I said, are you sure you didn't alienate some voters by saying, I think I just won the Heisman?
You and I weren't doing the show together religiously at that time. We were just on together on Wednesdays, and it was that day that he was on, if I recall correctly. And what I'm bringing that up to point out this, Skip. RG3 had an ego about him long before he arrived in Washington. Now, that doesn't mean that it was a negative, because you got to have that to play the quarterback.
Absolutely.
And he backed it up.
And he backed it up. The flip side is that you were backing it up. And here's the dangerous part that needs to be said about somebody in his position. You can't be a successful quarterback in the NFL by yourself. On the NBA level, you can't win without your teammates, but you can be an individual success without your teammates. Perfect example would be Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony, the Knicks stink. We all know that. But Carmelo Anthony is a star. He's one of the top 5 greatest offensive players of the modern day generation. So even though the Knicks stink up the joint on a religious basis, it's undeniable that Carmelo Anthony is a big-time talent worthy of the star-studded status he enjoys. You can't pull that off on the NFL at the quarterback spot. You can't be RG3 and accomplish all the things you accomplished as a rookie had it not been for that offensive line, had it not been for Mike and Kyle Shanahan and the way they employed their system to facilitate you, had it not been for the receivers playing alongside you along with the running backs that you had. So when you were about brand RG3 at that particular particular moment in time. Although I believe he's a good person, and I believe that he's taken far too many hits than he deserves on a personal level.
I agree with you.
It cannot be denied that he brought a lot of it on himself because he forgot that he didn't get here by himself. He got here because of those very teammates who clearly felt forgotten, because if they didn't feel forgotten, Skip, they wouldn't still be harboring the level of animosity that they once had for him.
Okay, I agree. Now, last quick point from our Ryan Clark, who's often on this show, who knows Robert very well and likes the heck out of
That's
Robert.
right.
And I know that from off camera. He's made the point that, remember that Robert in high school was a track star first, a track star more than a football star.
Right.
He was big time. He was world class. And it makes you a solo act in track. Obviously, it's not a team sport, so his mentality is a little bit, it's self-centered, not in a bad way, but it's you internalize because it's just you against the world. And some of that is showing itself here, where he's not one of the fellas as much as maybe some quarterbacks are.
Well, the reason why I would not use that as an excuse is because he played enough football prior to arriving in the NFL for that not to be an excuse. You've been involved in enough team activity to know better, number one.
I'm just telling you, it's nature.
I agree. I feel
yeah.
you. And the other part about Ryan Clark, let me point this out, close the segment with this. I wouldn't put much credence in Ryan Clark's relationship with a player, and let me tell you why. Ryan Clark's a different cat. He's very personable. He's very communicative. He's straight up. So it's pretty difficult for somebody to be aloof or dismissive of him because he ain't having it. You see what I'm saying? And he will confront you, whereas other guys would tend to just dislike you from afar, keep their distance from you, not really make an effort to ingratiate themselves with you or to be personable with you. So they'll just designate you as not that great of a guy, and they could care less about you. But Ryan Clark, he's the kind of person that he'll be around you enough where he's personable, he can have that kind of impact. Or if he don't like you, it would be in your best interest to change that, because it'll be in your detriment to have Ryan Clark as an enemy if you're on the same team. You see what I'm saying?
Ryan Clark is his own man.
Right.
And if he gets bad vibes from you and decides you're not the right kind of guy, you're out.
That's right. And RG3 he's not a dummy now.
Yeah.
He might sit there and look at a Ryan Clark and be like, I don't need to get on his bad side. You see my point? That's how that works.
Yep.
You know what I know about the Redskins? They're 1-1.
Right.
You know what the Giants and Eagles are? 0-2.
I will say this. Redskins
Matt
defense,
Jones.
Jay Gruden deserves some credit. Their defense is looking good right now. They really are.
Okay,
really.
just me. I'm going to put this in some quick perspective.
Yeah, sure.
I think they took advantage of a much overrated Dolphins team in the opener. It came down to a punt return by the Dolphins, 17-10 Dolphins.
Right.
Close game.
Right.
And then they caught the St. Louis Rams after an emotional home opening victory over arch rival Seattle, and they did not take the Redskins seriously enough in Week 2, with Pittsburgh coming back to St. Louis in Week 3. It was a trap game, and they got trapped by the Redskins. So I'm not sure about the Redskins yet.
Yeah, but that St. Louis defense is something that we were raving about. I can't ignore that.
Division's up for grabs.
Football's back, and it already feels like the playoffs thanks to 1 Week Fantasy at DraftKings.com. With millions of dollars in prizes being paid out each week, every play in every game could take you closer to a life-changing payday. Hurry to DraftKings.com now. Use promo code TAKE and play for free with your first deposit in this Sunday's $1 million fantasy contest. This isn't fantasy as usual. This is DraftKings. Welcome to the big time. Enter TAKE for free entry now only at DraftKings.com. That's DraftKings.com.
Meanwhile, we had an upset special in college football Saturday when 15th-ranked Ole Miss defeated number 2 Alabama with turnovers just killing Nick Saban's squad. Both Cooper Bateman and Jake Coker played quarterback in that game, but did either separate themselves. Even though the Crimson Tide scored all 5 of their touchdowns with Coker under center, Bateman completed a higher percentage of passes. After this home loss, Bama fell to 12 in the polls, and the Rebels climbed to 3rd. Stephen A., what does this loss tell you about their head coach?
Well, what it tells me is that Nick Saban needs a quarterback. He needs a quarterback that he can rely upon. Coker wasn't the answer. He only completed 46% of his passes. Yes, they were turning the ball over. 2 turnovers by special teams, by the way. One to daggone open the game, for crying out loud. Really disgusted me, put themselves behind the 8 ball. But there's no denying that this kid, Chad Kelly, can ball. I like him. I like his athleticism. I like the arm that he has on him for Ole Miss. I was very, very impressed by him. So let's throw that out the way to get that to just get that out the way. But Alabama had 5 turnovers, okay? Ole Miss didn't have any. And I think that speaks to, how good Ole Miss is, but also how much work Alabama has to do. I don't think that their defense is opportunistic. At least it was not this past weekend. They can play, they can get up in you, but at the same time, they don't appear to be as invincible as they have in years past. Since Nick Saban arrived at Alabama, Skip, their record is 93-18. He's won about 83% of his games. We all know what this man can do. 3 national championships in 4 years, but he's gotten away with it by and large. I mean, McCarron was really, really good and effective and efficient in his system. Sims, not so much, even though I liked him last year. Coker, he's okay, but I kind of think that when a guy like Bateman comes in and completes 78% of his passes, he might be somebody that you may need to look at. Of course, Derrick Henry is a stud. He can run the football, but they also don't have Amari Cooper this time around, and I thought that was glaring as well. Not having Amari Cooper there, not having a quarterback that you can rely upon to really get the job done, combined with not protecting the football and a defense that doesn't seem as formidable. I'm kind of surprised by all of this, Skip, simply because of this reason. Consistently over the last several years, Nick Saban has had the #1 recruiting class in America.
Yes.
So I'm expecting elite. Particularly on the defensive side of the ball, because I know how much that how much that's a fixture for Nick Saban.
Yeah.
I don't understand for the life of me, Skip Bayless, why that didn't seem to be as prevalent. Obviously, they came back, they made a game of it after being down about 27-10. We understand that, and they got a lot of heart, and they could come at it. They say that maybe they were a little bit too hyped, maybe a little bit too anxious. No, I just think Ole Miss is pretty damn good, and they've got a quarterback, and they didn't turn the football over. And I think the combination of that with the question marks at the quarterback spot by Alabama, along with questions at the receiving spot, because Amari Cooper, or he's no longer there, and they have no one to replace him on that level at this particular moment in time. I think that leaves a lot to be desired with Nick Saban and this Alabama Crimson Tide are facing right now. I think they'll be okay. But national championship, no, I don't think they're going to be in that picture.
Ole Miss scored 24 points off those turnovers, too, so they were opportunistic.
Yes, they were.
Fair to say you're a huge Nick Saban fan?
Huge.
Give me one roll. Just
roll time.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Now we got the table set.
I love what he stands for. I mean, it's not just about his coaching. I love the fact that he can look people in the face and let them know where he stands and why. Unapologetically. I respect that.
I know someone like that. That's direct. A couple people.
Highlight of my year on the show is having Coach Saban come in and sit here.
Loved it.
Just always intriguing and entertaining and enlightening.
And real. He's just real.
He's real.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be objective now. He made his coaching bones on his defensive genius. And I don't throw that word around lightly, because he was highly regarded as a defensive genius on the college level, if not the pro level.
Some slippage there.
Struggled a little bit, but now he's slipping. He's lost a little bit of his coaching fastball, if you will.
Okay.
Because I'm looking at his last 9 games against top 15 teams at that moment that he played them. He's 4-5 in those games. And let me just quickly give you some of the scores.
Please.
Manziel put up 42 against Nick Saban's defense. Then in the kick 6 game, against Auburn, 34 Auburn scored in that game. My Oklahoma Sooners, who weren't very good in that Sugar Bowl, remember that one?
Yeah.
They scored 45 on Nick Saban's defense.
That's right.
And then, of course, Nick Saban's team was held to 17 last year at Ole Miss, turned right around against Auburn and gave up 44. I believe that game was in Tuscaloosa.
Absolutely right.
And then Ohio State national semifinal gave up 42 points, and now 43 at home. And I agree with you about Jim Kelly's nephew, Chad. He's got a special arm. That's what Jim called it, and it's special.
He
can whip it, baby.
He has it.
And again, the kid had big maturity issues, got kicked out at Clemson for clashing with the coaches, and then went to junior college in Mississippi. We know all that.
I think he's over that.
I think it looked like he was.
I think he's over that.
Big time when you throw for 341 in Tuscaloosa, 3 touchdowns
Alabama.
and 0 interceptions. That's big time, because the defense at Alabama is no longer big time. I thought they were going to be, because just on high school reps, blue chip, you look across the depth chart and you say, wow, 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 wow. And I thought early in the year with Derrick Henry, what a load he is carrying the mail, I thought they're going to be right back in it and they're going to be really tough to beat. And then this happened. Chad Kelly happened. Ole Miss happened. And again, they've got Alabama's number now. They are not afraid of Nick Saban and company. So is it fair to say that over the last, what are we doing here, 3 years, is it fair to say he's either in a coaching slump because the pipeline is still full. It's still supplying at a high rate blue chip high school athletes, right?
Right.
Okay, what's happened then? And again, let me finish with this point.
Please.
They still can't recruit a quarterback, and I don't get it. How can Alabama not recruit? How can Alabama not just say, you up there in Toledo, Ohio, or wherever, you in Seattle, Washington, we want you here at Alabama, and go get that guy? Is it because Nick doesn't want a star quarterback? He wants somebody who's a little more coachable, such as AJ was? I don't know, like a sort of a coach on the field type, if you will, a puppet. But here in your biggest game yet this year against a team that was going to be formidable on defense, you throw Cooper Bateman into the starting lineup on Saturday night? I'm not buying that. I thought that was a bad idea by Nick Saban. Who am I to criticize the great Nick? But it blew up in his face because he had to yank him and throw Jake Coker back in there. That the continuity is destroyed. It's not fair to either kid because both of them struggled because of that decision.
Well, that's what, but I think that what it says, Skip, is that when you got two quarterbacks, you don't have any.
Okay.
All right, and that's what it falls along those lines. You're trying to figure out how to win a game because you don't have confidence in either quarterback. So you make a valid point. I'm gonna give you one other reason that you didn't bring up why you should be frowning at Nick Saban right now to some degree. I'm talking about the greatness of Nick Saban because you know how I feel about him, and I consider him great. Skip Bayless, I watched this kid, Robert. How do you pronounce his name? Kimdichi? I mean, this dude, 305 pounds.
Okay, but he was a top recruit in the country, and he landed. His brother was at Ole Miss, and he landed there. Okay.
Well, let me tell you this. I'm sitting there. The reason why I'm bringing that up because I'm sitting there saying, "How did you not get him?"
Well, he's
now, I understand his brother's there. His brother actually led the team with 10 tackles Saturday, but he had about 6. This dude
this dude,
he looks like a number one overall pick.
He well could be. He well could be.
Ooh, Robert and Kimdichi.
Yep.
I was thinking about you because I remember in your classic line, jump off the screen.
He leaps.
That dude leaps off the screen. I said, they can't block him.
They couldn't block him.
They can't block him.
No,
He's
I agree.
everywhere. It didn't matter that he only had 6 tackles, but he was everywhere. I mean, he was a nightmare. He was the kind of dude where you're hearing his footsteps even when he's 10 feet away. You're hearing something and you're thinking it's him because he has that kind of impact.
Yep.
That dude is special.
Yep.
I'm trying to tell you right now, Robert, he might be the number 1 overall pick. I mean, he is special.
Yeah, Coach Herm coached him at the All-Star game coming out of high school and came in here the next Monday and said,
you don't see me.
Oh, my Lord.
You do not see me reacting over a college football player like that. I don't do that.
Yeah.
That dude, oh, my Lord.
Real deal.
Real deal. Real deal. I'm talking possible number 1 overall pick.
Well, you got a couple NFL squads that could
305 pounds, and he comes at you.
Tony Romo is expected to miss about 8 weeks with a fractured collarbone and won't need surgery. He'll likely be placed on the injured reserve designated to return, according to our Ed Werder. That would mean Romo would not be eligible to practice for 6 weeks or to play for 8. Romo got hurt in the third quarter of the Cowboys' win over the Eagles on Sunday. Here is our doctor, Mark Addix, on Romo's collarbone injury.
I look at this choice in 2 ways. As a player, I want to be back on the field as fast as I can, and I don't want to be re-injured. As a surgeon, I want the same for my patient. I want to get him back as fast as I can, and I don't want them to get re-injured. This is the clavicle that he hurt in 2010. My concern for him is, 1, that he's at a bigger risk for re-injury, and in my experience, and looking at the literature, when you return from a clavicle fracture without having surgery, you're looking at 2 to 4 weeks longer to return. So if he was going to come back in 6 to 8 with the surgery, you're looking at 10 to 12 without surgery.
Romo tweeted the following on Monday. Thank you for all your prayers and support. No surgery needed. We're just getting started. Cowboys Nation. See you soon. Skip, no surgery needed. Do you have a problem with your team's decision?
I'm concerned about it, Stephen A. Dr. Addix is exactly right. Who am I to quibble with his read on this? He's a longtime pro football player. He's done this surgery many times on many athletes, and that's what the literature, as he said, will tell you. You need to go ahead and have the surgery. You need to go ahead and put a little plate over the crack so it will hold it better, and that there'll be less chance of you re-breaking the clavicle. Last night, though, I called a prominent surgeon I know who's a team doctor for a different team, and he said he was fascinated by the Cowboys' path that they chose here. He knows all about this and has done this surgery on many pro football players and basketball players. And he said, you know what? This tells me the Dallas Cowboys are all in, that they found a much smaller crack than anticipated with no other displacement of the bone, no other big bone damage, no ligament damage. And they decided, let's go all in because this season is all in for them. Tony Romo is 35 years of age, and they think they have a really, really good team, obviously, if Dez Bryant can come back. So what they're thinking is, according to this surgeon from afar, they'll use all the modern medicine breakthroughs that we have at our fingertips now, the PRP shots where you take some of your blood, spin it down, and re-inject it where the injury is to speed the healing, or stem cell shots. You take some of your own stem cells and you inject them in the injured area to speed the healing. Two issues that you have there that you could use, two new breakthroughs. And then you wait and hope that in 5 weeks, as opposed to 8 or 10 or 12 weeks, that you could, remember, it says non-throwing shoulder, so you don't have to worry about the right one, it's just the left one. They got all kinds of braces and pads that they could put on the left shoulder. Now, is there high probability that he would re-injure? There is. I'd be the first to tell you. But if you want to try to get Tony Romo back in 5 weeks, maybe 6 weeks, this is how you go. It is high risk, maybe high reward. I'll be the first to tell you, I don't love this. This is not the safe way, the conservative way to go. This is Jerry Jones plunging for oil. That's what he's doing. This, and you hope you don't hit a dry hole here, because that's exactly what you're doing with Tony Romo, hoping at 35 he can come back and give you, the last whatever games would be left from 5 games out on, and hoping, because it's not his throwing arm, that it'll be okay. I'm a little shaky about it, but I love the guts that they're having to take the risk.
Do you take it?
You like it, don't you?
Doesn't bother me at all.
Yep.
Skip, it's really, really interesting listening to you. Dr. Bayless, you did a fabulous job of dissecting and highlighting
if I hadn't been this, I would have been that.
Really?
A doctor?
Yeah, I would have been a surgeon.
In all seriousness?
Orthopedic surgeon.
That's really interesting, because had I not been doing this in this profession, I would have been a criminal lawyer.
Oh, I was going to say lawyer. I didn't know
God's
criminal.
honest truth.
I believe
you. Oh, no,
you could have been a lawyer, too.
I say this to this very day. He would have lost to me. But I will tell you this, and in all seriousness, I've always said this. There is no way on earth that Johnny Cochran, God rest his soul, would have beat me in that O.J. trial. I would have won that case. I don't know what Christopher Darden and Marshall Clark was thinking. They couldn't have messed with me. Johnny Cochran would have lost that case to me. I can promise you that. With all that evidence, please. Now, back to reality. Here's the deal.
Thank you for that side note.
Yeah, I would have been great. Defense attorney. Prosecutor, yes. Skip Bayless, what I find funny and comical about your position with Tony Romo is that you seem so nervous.
I am.
And then Dez with the foot. And now Tony Romo with the collarbone, and then I'm just reading an article, and Jason Witten is questionable for this coming week's game because he's got not one but 2 sprained ankles and a sprained knee.
Yeah.
So Jason Witten, the ultimate safety net, he's a bit hobbled to say the least.
So I'll bet he'll be out there.
So he might be out there, but he's not going to be anywhere close to 100%. And then of course there's Dez Bryant and Tony Romo. So life is just a little bit tough with the Dallas Cowboys right now. I'm very sorry about that, but I will say this. Can't blame you for being worried, because these games that Tony Romo presumably will miss, got Atlanta, New Orleans, at New Orleans. Should win that one even though it's on the road. Got New England. You're going to lose that one. You got the Giants. You're on the road at the Giants. Got Seattle at home. Got Philadelphia at home. Got Tampa. Now let's play with this because let's surmise that Tony Romo's going to be back because that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to throw 7 out there. So let's say for the sake of argument, he's back 3 days before, Thanksgiving, November 22nd to be exact. Skip Bayless. They're on the road with Miami. Let's say for example, let's throw that out there. Let's say you want him going and then you want him to be back for the last 6 games. You got a home game against Carolina. You got 2 against Washington and Green Bay on the road. You got the Jets beat up. You got the Buffalo Bills. They're going to beat him up. You got another game against the Washington Redskins. He's definitely going to get beat up in one of those 2 Washington Redskins games. It's kind of rivalry that we're talking about here. So, I mean, it's like you're very worried. I can see it in you. Mm-hmm. And that makes me happy. Now, I don't wish any harm to Tony Romo. I want him to get healthy.
Not you.
Me personally, I would prefer that he have the surgery so he can come back fully healthy, a little bit quicker. We want to see Tony Romo out there.
You want to beat a team at their best.
Absolutely. We don't want people out. My man Ric Flair say, woo! To beat a man, you've got to beat the man. I understand. But I just noticed.
Wait, did you just call the Dallas Cowboys the man?
No. To beat a man, you got to...
Oh.
Laugh. That's not accurate. He's making it up.
No, you were saying...
I'm talking about Tony Romo. In other words, if I'm going to beat the Dallas Cowboys, I want Tony Romo out there instead of Brandon Weeden. I don't want Brandon Weeden. Tony Romo is the man compared to Brandon Weeden.
I thought we were getting on the Weeden yesterday.
That was the Weeden.
So you got to stay on the Weeden.
Listen, this isn't the Browns. He's got a real supporting cast now.
All I'm trying to say, Skip, is this. I see the confidence dissipating. Mm-hmm. You have gotten so desperate that you are actually leaning on your medical expertise to make your point, even though you have no medical education, and that's fine. That's fine. I don't blame you. I don't blame you because all it does is provide me fodder over the next several weeks to have an absolute ball with you, listening to you regurgitate the same, chirping about the same nonsense about the Dallas Cowboys. Well, it is nonsense.
Defending division champions should have won at Green Bay.
Here's why it's nonsense. Here's why it's nonsense.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you're going to miss at least 6 weeks. And when you come back,
5.
you're going to have those teams that I highlighted waiting for you. I mean this with all my heart. Good luck. Mm-hmm. Good luck.
Well, just remember, I wish you
nothing but the best.
I went from Sunday evening thinking that he might be gone for the whole year to, wait a minute, there's a scenario out there whereby if all goes well, please God.
I want to be clear.
He's back in 5 or 6 games.
I want to be clear. I don't want Tony Romo gone for the year. I definitely want him back. I don't want to see Dallas being led by Brandon Weeden. Mm-hmm. I don't want to see that. I want to see Tony Romo out there. That's what I want to see. I want when the Dallas Cowboys fall, I don't want y'all to have any excuses.
Yeah.
I want Des Bryant back. I want Tony Romo back.
I want Greg Hardy back.
Randy Gregory.
Greg Hardy wasn't there last year. I mean, it is what he.
I want Rolando McClain back.
Get DeMarco back.
But I want Rolando McClain there. I want Randy Gregory there. I wish Orlando.
You sound like you're making a case for a Super Bowl team.
I want all of them there because when you lose, I don't want any excuses. Mm-hmm. So I am rooting for Tony Romo to get back as soon as he possibly can. I'm not sure no surgery is the way to go. I'm inclined to believe you might be better off going up in there and surgery.
You know what? You're probably right. But Jerry Jones is going for broke here, or maybe broke in, as in.
Well, I mean, if the surgery was going to have him back around the same time, if not earlier,
Jerry Jones is probably looking at the division and saying
10 weeks or so.
All right, I thought the doctor said it may not have taken that long.
No, he says it might take a little bit longer to heal. But whatever. Look, they could still even today put him on that 8-game list, where you're eligible to return in 8 weeks just to save them from themselves, just to shelve them and have a roster spot. But so far, they haven't put either Dez or Romo on that 8-game list. So they're hoping one or both might surprise you.
Listen, Jerry, you keep hoping. I mean, my heart went out to Jerry Jones Sunday when I saw him.
I'm sure.
When I saw him looking like his heart stopped, like he was just so depressed. He was so down. My heart went out to Jerry. Hold on. It really did. It really did.
You're unreal. What's that soap opera you like?
I was General Hospital.
Yeah.
I was
It's in
so.
my test.
Wait, you just quit crying to say General Hospital.
I was so heartbroken.
Yeah.
Over Jerry Jones and his
Yeah.
depressive state. I want Jerry Jones to be I want him there in attendance. I want Stephen Jones there in attendance. I want Tony Romo healthy. I want Des Bryant healthy. I don't want any excuses. I don't want any excuses. So I want them to get better, and more importantly than that, more importantly than wanting the Dallas Cowboys to have all their horses when they lose, I want Jerry Jones to be okay up until that point.
Yeah.
I don't want him. I don't want to see what I saw Sunday.
If he needs it up there in the box.
I would do that for Jerry Jones. I want him
Stephen
okay.
A., on a serious note, do you have friends on the Giants, fellow Giants fan?
Only Victor Cruz.
Call these people. How come they're not capitalizing on this?
Because they're not very good right now.
Yeah.
They're not very good with their offensive line. They're not
know what I want?
And the Eagles, which we're going to get
I
into
want
next.
only you sitting in that same seat wearing cowboy garb for one whole week before my Cowboys play in this coming Super Bowl, because it's going to happen. And you see it coming in the back of your mind, and you're starting to dread it, and you're trying to play it off, but you know deep down it's coming.
I will say this to you. Can I say this last point? Can I say this
Thank you.
point?
I'll
I mean this with all my heart. I mean, in all seriousness, I'm not joking. I mean this with all my heart. I want the Cowboys to lose because I'm a New Yorker who's a Cowboy hater. I'll openly confess it because I can't stand Dallas Cowboy fans more so than the team. I can't stand the fans because I love me some Des Bryant. But I will acknowledge this to you. You keep thinking them going to the Super Bowl would be a bad thing. It would be a bad thing for me because I agree that I would wear the Cowboys stuff because I don't believe for 1 second they're going to the Super Bowl. But I don't think anything would make me feel better than the Dallas Cowboys to get to the Super Bowl, especially if it's against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then to be on the verge of victory and something catastrophic happens to blow a Super Bowl championship. That would be heaven. I mean, to see you on the precipice of the Dallas Cowboys capturing a championship only to be rendered miserable for the whole offseason because they were so close, but then they lost it. I don't know if any level of ecstasy could usurp that feeling. Well, there are things. But you know what I'm saying. I'm just saying to you that most things would not usurp that. That would be beautiful to watch the Cowboys so close
You know what
and then
was really
plummet
beautiful?
and then plummet.
I know we got to go, but last quick point. Do you remember the last time Dallas and Pittsburgh played in a Super Bowl? Were you too young to remember?
Neil O'Donnell interception to Larry Johnson. Don't get me started. Larry Brown. Don't get me started.
MVP of the game.
Don't get me started.
An accident waiting to happen. The Pittsburgh Steelers.
And that's why Neil O'Donnell isn't allowed back in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's right.
They got barricades keeping him out of the Steel City.
Yeah.
It's a travesty.
Yeah.
The players, I was embarrassed. Yeah. And that's not the way we were supposed to play football, and that's not what we're all about. But we didn't play well yesterday, and I was embarrassed in how we played yesterday. The personnel is good enough, but the execution isn't good enough. We're not putting together a plan that's good enough for us to execute offensively because we're not executing it. So that kind of falls on the coaching staff on the offensive side of the ball.
That was Chip Kelly speaking yesterday after the Eagles dropped to 0-2 this season. Kelly said there won't be any lineup changes despite the early struggles. NFL analyst Antonio Pierce joins us now. You know a thing or two about the NFC East, the Redskins, and you got a ring, of course, with the Giants. Good morning. Thanks for being with us. Do you like the way Chip's handling these early struggles?
Do I like it? I think he's doing what any other coach would do in this situation. He's not trying to panic, trying to make it look like he has control over it. But the matter of fact is he does not. And when you look at it, and the reason I say is because he has his hands on everything that's going on in this organization. He's the one that has decided to move on with certain players and bring in certain guys. He brought in a quarterback who we all feel, and I should say this, who I feel shouldn't be a starter in the National Football League. Even going into the season before the 0-2 start and Sam Bradford. And he's shown why. He looks like a deer with headlights. He looks nervous. I would prefer Tim Tebow to go back in and at least give me some excitement.
That's true.
Because I know exactly what I'm going to get. This guy, I don't know what I'm going to get each and every play. And then you go and decide to take DeMarco Murray, one of the best running backs in the National Football League, and you run him sideline to sideline. Now, I might not be in the offense and not know when he needs to cut up, but just looking at the scheme of what they're running with DeMarco Murray, when they decide to use DeMarco Murray in the games, it's a bad choice. It's going lateral. It's not downhill. When you take out two guards and you make your offensive line weak, but yet you bring in a high-powered running back, what are you saying to your team? Then you decide to have an offense that is going vertical, but with who? So when you look at this personnel, you're trying to say up-tempo, vertical, explosive, where? But then again, you had all your hands on each and every move. So to me, it's a little dumbfounding that you can sit there and say you're going to stay on course with what you're doing. You're going to be 0-3. I get it that he can go back to college football and go make the same amount of money that he's doing in the National Football League, but you're hurting your team by making bad decisions beforehand and sticking with Sam Bradford throughout the game. When you can look at that game and there was no confidence, not only in him, but the guys around him were saying, this is not the guy we need in the game right now.
In other words, he's soft. Let's just call it what it is. And that's something that I said yesterday, and I tweeted while the game was going on, deer in headlights, because that's what I saw. He looked absolutely positively petrified. I never played football in my life. You understand me? I'm talking about other than playing around in the streets. I damn sure never put on a pad and a helmet, not with my skinny behind. Oh, absolutely not. I wasn't trying to be a football player. But even I knew. You know, you can smell blood. You know, you're a football player on that football field for the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday afternoon. You were like sharks in blood-infested waters. I'm talking about Sam Bradford was prime meat. It was just so obvious. It was alarming at how obvious it was. But I also look at Chip Kelly, and I think that ultimately the downfall of the Philadelphia Eagles will potentially be the arrogance of its head coach and de facto GM as opposed to the quarterback itself. And here is why. Sam Bradford showed me something in that second half against the Atlanta Falcons. He showed me that he could fling that football. He showed me that he could hit open targets. You look at a Jordan Matthews, you look at Aguilar, you look at, I ain't going to bring up Riley Cooper, but the Darren Sproles. The Dallas Cowboys played Darren Sproles effectively on Sunday. We understand that. But the other receivers, you don't know what they could do because Dallas was getting pressure on Sam Bradford because he was dancing in the pocket like their late, great Gregory Hines, God rest his soul. He was tap dancing like that when he could. In the end, though, I still point the finger at Chip Kelly because Deshaun Jackson is gone, because he got rid of 9 players on both sides of the ball who are contributing for other teams immediately. There's a LaShawn McCoy, there's a Jeremy Maclin, there's a Harriman and a Mathis, okay, who are in Indy and Denver respectively. Then you look at a guy like Trent Cole, he's gone. You look at some of these guys that they have, and you never hear a coach speak against continuity, speak against experience, speak against doing things that are tried and proven to work. In the case of Chip Kelly, he seems to be a guy that goes against the premise that you've got to have talent to win on this level. His attitude is, no, my system is fine. Whatever you don't think is talent will work in my system. It does not matter what history has shown about the NFL game. And I could be wrong because Chip Kelly is 10-6 over the first 2 seasons of his coaching career. But I simply don't look at a man who I believe is long for the NFL. Really? I think that he's somebody that's destined to return to college because all he sees is his way. And the NFL is a man's game. No matter how talented you are, and I know this because of my years of covering basketball, you can have talent. You can have talent, and that will elevate you. You got to have some toughness, but you can have talent, and that will elevate you. You could be the most talented dude in the NFL. If you wilt, once you get punched in the mouth, you are done, because unlike the NBA and other sports, in the NFL, you have a license to assault people. You can't just have talent. You have to have toughness in order to succeed in the NFL. And I question that about Sam Bradford, which is why I don't think the Eagles are going to. I've changed my position on the Eagles. I know they got the talent. I didn't believe that I would look at them and feel like they were soft. That's how I feel about them now. Not defensively, offensively I'm talking about.
I love both your takes on this. I forgot to mention yesterday that my Cowboys committed a franchise record 18 penalties on Sunday in Philly for 142 yards. And declined a 19th. One was declined, the 19th penalty, and lost their starting quarterback mid-third quarter and still beat Chip Kelly 20-10 for the 3rd straight time they beat Chip Kelly in Philadelphia.
Can we just say 20-3? Because that last touchdown didn't matter.
Okay.
I want to say 20-3.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So remember, as you point out, Chip Kelly won the power struggle. He became the GM as well as the head coach. This was his show and only his show. And it was clear he wanted to be the star of this show. And there was 1 week in the offseason, we came in here day after day, and it was bombshell after bombshell that Chip dropped in Philly. We're going to do this. We're not. He's gone. He's gone. He's gone. And by the way, I'm trading Nick Foles for Sam Bradford. I'm no Bradford guy because I saw him. I'm a University of Oklahoma fan. He drove me crazy in college. The least bit of pressure, he folds. He's not a physical pocket presence, and we're seeing it all over again. So it was a bad idea.
Okay.
But we said back in the offseason, hey, Chip better be great this year, but you got to give him a shot. Maybe he is a genius. Maybe he knows something we don't know. Let's give him a shot.
Got to give him a shot.
So now they are facing 0-3. Am I right about that?
Yes.
I mean, wouldn't we all think they're looking right down the barrel of 0-3?
Yes.
Okay. And so I don't think you can make the playoffs from 0-3. I could be wrong about that in the NFC East.
I think it was 3 teams that did it 25 years or so.
Are y'all ready for this? I'm sorry.
Real quick.
Go ahead.
This is Steve Spurrier 13 years later, and I was a part of that 2002.
You were.
Steve Spurrier is still.
Let me. It's in a question form because I don't know, so I'm just going to ask you. The only reason I question that is because Steve Spurrier was unapologetic about he had his tea time. We're going to play some golf. We're going to chill out, whatever. I don't get that from Chip Kelly. I mean,
I'm talking about as far as the personnel moves. Like, I got to give my guys, it'll work when we knew Danny Warfel couldn't throw a 10-yard out. We knew Jaquez Green, those guys couldn't play. You know what I mean? I'm talking about that. He brought his personnel. We had all these guys from we let Stephen Davis go.
Are y'all ready for this storyline for Sunday? You ready for this one? Because I'm going to tell you ahead of time what it's going to be. Mark Sanchez will go against the New York Jets. I'm not saying start. I'm not saying start. I'm saying he'll finish. Jets going to get Sam Bradford out of there. One way or another, I do not believe that Sam Bradford is going to finish. Now, I hope it's because, when I say that, I hope it's because he's playing bad as opposed to getting hurt, because I don't want him to get hurt. But I'm saying that defense that we saw go after Andrew Luck, I just want to put it in perspective. Andrew Luck might be a turnover machine, but he's talented, he's got heart, he's got promise, and he's a big boy. You're looking at Sam Bradford. You're talking about cats jumping at the bit. Listen, I know Muhammad Wilkerson. His mama came up to me. I went to the Jets practice. I'm not talking about when we were there. I'm talking about they had a scrimmage, at Hofstra just a couple of weeks before the season. I went there with my family, Adam Schefter and all. We were sitting in the stands watching. Muhammad Wilkerson was there. His mama was there. Muhammad Wilkerson's a big boy. That's a big boy. This dude is looking at Sam Bradford. He's going to see Sam Bradford with calves as thick as mine, and he's going to sit there and go like this. Oh, Lord, this is going to be a beautiful day. I just need to get to him. And that's the thing. The Dallas Cowboys is very, very interesting. You brought that up. Skip 18 penalties, 19 turned down. You know what the Dallas Cowboys are saying? Hell with the penalties. We're going to soften this brother up. That's what we're going to do. Am I lying? We're going to soften him up. If this is the Dallas Cowboys, we talking about the New York Jets here. You see that defense? The corners are like, we got you. Don't worry about it. Just send the sink.
I agree.
Send the kitchen sink at them. I mean, I'm scared for Sam Bradford. I'm petrified for him. I'm trying to tell you, he ain't finishing that game. Chip Kelly gonna pull him.
One way or the other.
One way or the other, and I'm hoping he don't get hurt. I want to emphasize that, because I'm serious. This ain't a joke to me. I think he's in trouble. I'm really hopeful that he just gets yanked because he's unproductive. Because I think the Jets going to get him out of there. I really do.
We shall see. It's about to be October, guys, the best month in sports.
If you were going against it, wouldn't you be salivating?
Boom.
Tap, tap, tap.
And now, for Geico's edition of Stuff Found in Your Car, we go inside your side door pocket.
Hello, yes, the crumpled receipt with gum in it. From your anniversary dinner, you sprang for expensive wine, your server was Beth. That dinner was a couple $100. Money you could get back if you switched to Geico and saved hundreds of dollars on your car insurance. I bet you'd save that receipt. Frame it even. But really, where did I go wrong? Was it the corkage fee?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com today.
to the association. With a week to go until the start of training camp, there remains a $14 million gap in contract talks between restricted free agent Tristan Thompson and the Cavaliers, sources told our Brian Windhorst. Sources say the Cavs have held firm at an offer of 5 years and $80 million, while Thompson is looking for a max contract of $94 million over that same span. If no deal is reached by the end of the week, Thompson may sign the Cavs' one-year qualifying offer of $6.9 million to become an unrestricted free agent. So his agent, Rich Paul, told ESPN last month that if Thompson signs the one-year qualifier, he will not re-sign with the Cavs long-term in 2016. Stephen A., what's going on?
What's going on is this. Tristan Thompson is 24 years of age, played exceptionally well, come the playoffs, particularly the finals. He was a rebounding demon. And he has sat around while other folks have been taken care of. You've got a $14 million difference or so is being reported. You made sure Iman Shumpert got his 40-plus million. You made sure to re-up Timothy Mozgov. Obviously, Kyrie Irving, as well as he should have even beforehand, got his $90 million. But more importantly, you gave Kevin Love $110 million. Now, you could have kept Kevin Love for less than that. You didn't have to go out and give Kevin Love questionable knees, questionable back, $110 to $113 million.
Why did you?
Nobody is arguing with the fact that you have to keep Kevin Love. You let go of Andrew Wiggins, who has a lot of promise and seems to be on the rise, and stardom seems to be in his future. But the flip side to it is that you didn't have to take care of Kevin Love the way you took care of Kevin Love. And so when you look at it from that perspective, you have to ask yourself, why is that? It's because promises were made to Kevin Love, and they were obviously being kept because he seems to be David Griffin's kind of guy, whatever that means. Me personally, I like David Griffin. I think he's done I think he's done a really good job as the general manager for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Not that fond of his owner, Dan Gilbert, but Dan Gilbert does cut the checks, and he's unapologetic about doing so, so I will give him credit for that. But I do believe that a legitimate argument could be made, and here's where the big picture lies. Tristan Thompson in this situation right now is not about Tristan Thompson. I think it's about the legacy of LeBron James in Cleveland. And here is why I say that. LeBron James' long-term deal comes up next year. He's due for that. No matter what max dollars he's getting for this upcoming season, what max dollars he got last season, they clearly still had enough money to take care of Tristan Thompson. You just got to pay more with the luxury tax, okay? You could have chipped a few dollars off of an Iman Shumpert or Kevin Love. You didn't do that. You could have treated J.R. Smith a little bit better, even though he was stupid to opt out of his deal to come back for less money. You know, that was bad advice. But when you look at it from the Tristan Thompson perspective, the kid is 24 years of age. He's a rebounding demon. He defends. His offensive skills continue to improve. The upside exists there. Plus, you have paid Love. You played Shumpert. You've paid Mozgov. And on top of it all, you still paid Anderson Varejao, who is older now, who isn't healthy and whatever. To sit there and say that you can't find the money for Tristan Thompson, the reason why I bring up the legacy of a LeBron James, remember, in the 2006-2007 season, when the Cleveland Cavaliers ended up going to the NBA Finals against the San Antonio Spurs, what did you follow that up with in the years to follow? There was a Wally Zerbiak on the team, a Joe Smith on the team, an over-the-hill, no disrespect whatsoever, because Stephen A. loves Big Bennett Wallace. But Ben Wallace, after he was gone from the Detroit Pistons, that wasn't the same Benny Wallace that was in Cleveland. Shaq. You know that's my man. When he was all said and done, and he was on the verge of retiring. These are the kind of things that you're the Cleveland Cavaliers, and you have allowed to happen to LeBron, which precipitated his exit the first time around. So here you are now. You've got Kyrie Irving, all right? You got Tristan Thompson, and you are giving them problems. This is the kind of situation that LeBron points to. And I'm telling you right now, you heard it here first. I'm going to say it again. I warned the city of Cleveland, Ohio, back in 2007. Go look up the interview. They had me interviewed in Cleveland on the radio station in Cleveland, Ohio. And I said to them then, he's leaving. Do not doubt this. He's giving you 3 more years, and then after that, he's gone. And what happened 3 years later? I broke the story that he's going to South Beach and was crucified for 2 weeks until it came to be true. I am telling y'all again, LeBron did not promise to stay in Cleveland for the rest of his career. He promised that he was committed to coming back to delivering an NBA championship. Cleveland is one of the favorites this year. If they win this year and he's still having problems with this organization, don't be surprised if he leaves again. I'm not promising you he will leave. I'm telling you LeBron could end up leaving again because of the personnel moves you do make and you refuse to make. I said it before. I'm saying it again. Listen if you want to.
Okay, I'm not sure what all that had to do with Tristan
It
Thompson.
has everything to do with Tristan Thompson because he's not happy about the fact that they haven't taken care of Tristan Thompson. And then Rich Paul is saying that Tristan Thompson may leave after this year if he's forced to sign the 1-year tender.
But
So the
you're
point
saying
is that
if they win a championship, he would leave.
Right.
Okay, well, that would be a really good thing for Cleveland, right? I mean, that would be a big thing if they won a championship.
Well, they would win a championship, of course, because he's committed to delivering a championship back to the city of Cleveland.
Okay.
But if you're going to show an unwillingness to keep young horses in place, okay, and instead bring guys or sign guys to $110 million with questionable knees and questionable backs and stuff like that, you now have a problem that he doesn't want to stick around and deal with. So the Tristan Thompson thing is important because LeBron wants to keep that guy. People like yourself, me, and others in the NBA community see nothing but upside with this kid.
Oh, I love it.
And not only that,
he changed the way they play basketball.
You can't justify not paying him if you paid the other guys. Had you not paid them, that would be different.
Okay.
But to not pay him and to pay those other guys, you got a problem.
Okay, we're almost out of time, so we might have to save this for another day, but my issues are twofold with this salary structure here. I have no idea why you gave Kevin Love that much money. He's not worth that much money. I think that Tristan is worth $94 million and will be over the long haul. But I still can't, we probably don't have time to get into this. I don't know why LeBron would take the max. I keep telling you, Tim Duncan, coming off one of his best years ever, is making $5 million this year. LeBron's making 23. LeBron can make God knows how much money off the court. Why would he insist? I know it's a principle thing with the Players Association, that he's got to set the tone from the top. I get all that. But if you really want to win more rings, you take half that and make sure that Tristan, represented by your representative, is taken care of.
Last point on this matter. You can make that argument like you made against Kobe because you're talking about going outside to bring another player in, and your cap comes into consideration then. With LeBron and the Cleveland Cavaliers, that's not relevant because you're talking about keeping your own player. And because you're keeping your own player, it's this an issue of the luxury tax number, which is offset by the money LeBron brought into the organization by his return. So you can't use that.
Okay, but remember, San Antonio has the same issue with trying to keep a Kawhi Leonard, right?
Yes.
And they said, well, we can keep Kawhi because Tim has taken only $5 million this year.
Guys, I'm sorry, I got to cut you off, but we might be able to readdress this either or later today or further in the week because there's so much to get into. David Price pitched 7 shutout innings, and the Blue Jays padded their lead in the AL East after beating the Yankees last night. Toronto is now 3.5 games clear of New York with less than 2 weeks left in the regular season. Stephen A., you're concerned about the Yanks?
I'll admit it, I'm concerned. Teixeira can't seem to get healthy. Sabathia is not what he used to be. The combination of those two things, along with the inconsistent play of a few of their guys. I mean, 1 minute, Beltran is smacking 3-run home runs against the Mets. Another minute, he can't get a hit against the Blue Jays. I'm concerned about it. It's not over yet. I haven't given up. I'm still going to believe in my Yankees. I'm going down with the ship. But I will tell you that I think the thing that concerns me is 2 things. David Price, who's an absolute stud.
By the way, where did he go to school? Oh, yeah, Vanderbilt University. Go ahead.
Price.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, I love Price, but I will tell you this. His level of production since he has arrived in Toronto has been Cy Young material. And when you combine that with the fact that Toronto has been doing what they've been doing without the services of Tulowitzki, I mean, I remember when Toronto lost a game, Boston came back on them the other night in the top of the ninth. I give Toronto a lot of credit. They've been hanging in there, and David Price has been an ace. We'll see what happens tonight with Severino pitches for the New York Yankees, and Ivan Nova goes after that. I still think the Yankees can win 2 of these 3 games. Then they'll only be a game and a half back. So the jury is still out. But I'll admit that I am a bit concerned.
Your Yankees should be ashamed of themselves if they can't catch the Blue Jays after the Blue Jays lost the primary reason I picked the Blue Jays to be. Yes. He's gone. I got a Romo-like bad break. He cracked his shoulder blade.
They still got Donaldson and Bautista and Price.
I know, but Tulo, remember, everything changed when he walked in the door. And now they're 4-4 since he's been gone, and there's no timetable for him to come back. So all of a sudden, you got the greatest cowboy-like break. You got my Blue Jays. They're reeling without Tulowitzki, and you can't catch them.
What's New York doing?
Listen,
Another
listen,
sport.
you got Encarnacion. He's been doing well for them. Plus, Russell Martin is somebody who used to catch for the New York Yankees, so he kind of knows what they do, how they do it. So that certainly helps as well. The Yankees that are at decided disadvantages, particularly without Teixeira, I recognize that, but they're still in the thick of things. They took 2 or 3 from the Mets last weekend. I'm not giving up on my New York Yankees. The jury is still out. We'll see what happens.
Well, why don't you just go ahead and say they're going to win the East?
Well, I'm worried about them right now. I thought they were going to win the East. They had a 6.5 game lead, and they lost it in 13 days.
That's correct.
For crying out loud.
Because of the addition, starting with Tulowitzki, that the Blue Jays
again, but again, I think it's the addition of Price. How about that? Price is a stud. He's only got one. He's got like 9-1 since he arrived.
He only gets to play every 5 days, right?
They got some bats, and we know they were scoring runs before Tulowitzki arrived. But now it's even more lethal, and you've got Price shutting people down. And obviously, when you've got a great pitcher like Price, it infuses the rest of your pitching staff, at least to some degree. So we understand what's going on with Toronto. But again, it's not over yet.
You won't concede, but you won't guarantee
That's
either,
right. That is correct.
Oh, that's going way out on that one.
That's a good way. That's a good way to put it.
See, I haven't backed off my Cowboys. I'm still saying, here we come, Super Bowl,
what?
right?
That's because you are a Cowboy.
Oh, okay.
I'm not a Toronto Blue.
Ride 'em Cowboy.
All right.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. Catch First Take weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific on ESPN2.
Last week, Julie Carroll posted a status that read, "Just had the most delicious banana ever." It got 2 likes and 4 comments. Well, Julie Geico also wants to make a comment. What if we told you in as little as 15 minutes you could save hundreds of dollars on your car insurance by switching to Geico? With those hundreds of dollars, we bet you can find another banana equally, if not more delicious than the one you had last week. Hashtag go bananas. Hashtag savings.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
The Pirates and Cardinals have the best 2 records in baseball, and they go head-to-head one final time this regular season. Could this be a preview of next week's division series? Coverage begins Wednesday at 6:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio.